So we've shown some great screenshots, but I actually want them to be able to kind of see some of the tools that you're using. Now, what we're going to show everybody is just a dummy account. We're not going to show you, Clint's real data. So for any competitors out there, sorry, you're not going to see Clint's real data. But I just kind of want you to walk the audience through, some of these different dashboards and tools within ProNovos that have been helping you as a leader within your organization. So let me switch over. So where we're at right now, this is kind of the home screen of ProNovos. And so, Clint, I'm going to control the mouse and I want you to kind of tell me where to go and what you want to kind of share with those watching and how you're using this tool from a leadership perspective.
Well, if we want to talk about how I kind of have taught the project managers to use the tool, first we start off by clicking on the financials section and going to the WIP.
Okay.
Under the WIP, it's actually very easy to navigate, and also there's in a lot of these reports, there's tons and tons of data. So as we start, as we look at the total project information here at the top, this is for the overview of the entire company. But a project manager a lot of times wants to know, how am I doing? And what you can do is if you scroll down, you can actually filter by project manager, and it quickly gives him an update of how he's producing, not only showing him his projects, but also how he's producing across all of his projects, which is very insightful. I mean, it's how quickly, before it would take a couple of days for us to give specific project information on one project, but let alone 10 or 15 projects that they're working on overall. And now they can access that data at their fingertips whenever they want to. So I think that that's really super helpful.
And it also gives you the flexibility too, right? If you want to show more detailed information, you have a variety of different columns that you can pull up ad hoc in a meeting and then just say like, all right, you know what, if you think that there's a discrepancy, let's look at this. And like you can add in, your labor hours to budget, put that in and then have that on the tool, as opposed to in Excel, you'd have to go back to your accounting team, get that information, have them update the spreadsheet, and then maybe a week later be able to have that conversation with the PM.
Exactly. The amount of burden that was on the accounting team and the disconnect between how long some of those reports would take was just too much. It would take forever, and people would get distracted or do other things, and it was just hard to get the process complete every month because of that time that it would take to generate this information.
And before we move on, so that we got a question that came in, so I feel like since we're in the solution, I'll let you answer it. The question is, how quickly did it take for your accounting data to get into ProNovos for you to start being able to use it when you initially got started with the software? So i.e., how long did it take for us to plug into Foundation and populate our solution with your data?
It was actually fairly quick. So what I learned was, found when I was originally looking at this project, software, that's exactly one of my questions. How many customers do you have with our ERP, and how well, how is this integration process going to look like? The ERP that we were using, they already had a lot of customers utilizing it, and things were very smooth. And I think that we had us online in like under 2 weeks, including like the initial setup process and everything. It was very quick.
And that's one interesting thing. I've been in the world of technology for over a decade. And typically when you think about integrations and implementation, especially like most people on this call probably have experience with that from an ERP perspective, which from what I have heard is an absolute nightmare. ProNovos is set up to be more plug and play. So we're what's known as software as a service. So we have this amazing framework. All of this already exists. All we need is the keys to your ERP. We'll use, our connection. We plug in, we pull the data. Our team will QA it, and then you're kind of off to the races. And we do have an implementation process, but that's more training, right? 6 to 8 weeks, depending on your team and your needs. Your team jumps in once or twice a week, and it's really just more of a training. So at the end, I'll have a call to action if you want to see a demo. But what's unique about too, what we do is we can actually do a data sync demo. So instead of showing you what we're looking at now, which is our pristine demo environment that's all shiny and amazing, we'll actually demo our solution with your actual data. That way you can see like, oh, do I have data that needs to be cleaned up? We've had a lot of people on those demo sync calls where they're just like, oh, I've never seen these trends and these patterns before. So that it's fun to watch them have those aha moments during those data syncs, because that's how quickly we can plug in to the ERP and show you your data in ProNovos. All right, so we're back from our commercial break. uh, where else would you like me to go, Clint?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the first things that I have my project managers focus on is the projected final cost of an individual project that they're responsible for. So if you stay on here actually and you scroll to the left, I believe, back down where you were on the projects, and then scroll to the left.
Sorry, I have windows blocking my view.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
And so if you on the projected final cost, and I apologize, you're in a different version, different view than what the one we normally use. But if you click on any of the costs of the projects, that'll take you directly to our projected final cost. Oh, maybe it won't. I apologize. This is not the view that we like to use. It's a little bit different view.
And what Clint's referring to is view. Where's my? Sorry, I have so many screens, but there are different views that you can set, so you can have different customized views based on what the needs are for your organization. So here I clicked. So now we are in the actual project. So I guess kind of walk me through, and here's the final cost right here. So here's our projections, and then this takes us back over here to the WIP. So I think what you were trying to show is this interactive connectivity between the different modules and how you can go from one thing back to another thing very easily.
Yeah, as you're looking at this screen, I mean, this is a great tool. It's a high-level overview of the project on an individual basis. And it gives you all the basic KPIs that a project manager is going to need to see to be able to review a project. In fact, if you scroll down closer to the bottom, what's really beneficial and I think helpful in keep going down a little bit further in projecting some of the costs on the job is well, even a little bit further down, one more right here. This project not only shows, or this graph not only shows you your labor hours that you're spending each week or month, but it also, if you click costs, it'll show you what your burn rate is for the project, how much you're spending monthly. So this was really helpful to those guys of, hey, how much should I be billing? How far do I need to get, how am I going to calculate out or project my costs for the rest of this month? Because a lot of times guys really struggled with that. And so I thought that was really beneficial. The one chart directly above this, I thought was extremely important. So this shows you how much you billed to date and how much you've received to date and how much your job cost is to date. And a lot of these guys, when they started seeing some of the swings of this chart, they were like, wow, I didn't realize that we were extended so far. So as we get into the review process, I actually made this as an important feature of my guys of understanding, hey, now we know how to build projects correctly, but we also need to start making those contacts with those customers that are struggling to pay on time. And maybe we need to take further action if somebody's really being derelict in paying, and maybe we need to see what our options are at that point. So this took out that barrier of the project manager saying, how am I supposed to know what's happening on my jobs? Well, now you can see it yourself. So I thought that was a really cool graph.
And it's taking the burden off your accounting team without having to constantly provide them with this information. So now your PMs can say, I didn't know that we were underbilled by $500,000. It's hey, it's now your responsibility to get in and check this and stay on top of this stuff.
Yes. Yep. And that's giving them that financial autonomy to understand the revenue, the cash flow, and everything else that they're responsible for.
Right. So from here, here, so we can see a few other key things. So, if you were going in here and looking at this, and if this was one of your PMs, what would you, as the president of the company, be super concerned about, looking at this job?
Well, let's see. Profit margin is lower than original. Why? What's happening here? That could be a number of different things. It could be outstanding change orders that we've now been directed to proceed on, but we haven't got a formal change order to be able to bill against. And then that leads into how long have these change orders been outstanding. So on that change orders, there's a little arrow right there. If you click on that, it takes you to a full change order analysis of all the change orders outstanding on your project, which I think is a great graphic. It kind of helps the guys understand what they got going on and how those change orders are directly affecting their project outcome.
Yeah, I mean, and when I look at this too, again, not being in construction and not being in the financial management side, the visuals help me instantly process. And I mean, the human brain, it's proven the brain processes visuals faster than it does words and numbers. And so, I thought it was absolutely brilliant with the approach our founder Bruce took with making data and information accessible to all. So as opposed to like pigeonholing people to Excel, which makes sense to a certain demographic of people, by using a technology like this, it really does make data accessible to everybody within your company. So let's go back one, and we talked about your project reviews, and there's this tool here that you found to be pretty helpful. This is our project review tool for PMs. I'm going to kind of click through, but do you want to talk through how you all are using this tool and what it's done for your company?
Yeah, I mean, this is really, I mean, after what I have my guys do is I have them go through the projected final cost tool, which we'll navigate to shortly, I'm sure.
Mhm.
I have them go through these KPIs here through this financial review process. And this is now the precursor to the meeting that they have with the CFO. So they can review their financials, they can see how their margins are tracking. And so this project here, I would have them hit the little blue plus on the left-hand side and say, hey, why is my margin failing? Because that's going to be one of the first questions that Bank of Bond is asking the CFO, and the CFO needs to respond. And now we're getting out ahead of this project and saying why there's an issue. And then once they're done with this, they can click, I reviewed this section, and move on to the next. It's very user-friendly, very easy to navigate. And there's just a lot of information that it provides to you at a high level to understand, to be able to look at your project, think about your project, and prepare yourself for that review with the management team.
So is this required that all of your PMs go through this process before meeting with the CFO?
Yes. Yeah. So what we do is I've integrated this into our monthly process where they not only have to do their projections of costs, but they also have to do their billings at the same time, because I'm thinking, okay, and they do the review process at the same time. Because in my mind, the way I review this flow is these are all part of the same thing. Once you get your head into the project and you're looking at the cost and you're projecting the cost, you know what your cost is for the month. So at that point, you're ready to do your billings at the same time. And then as you're reviewing all this, then you could also, what we have our project managers do is we have them calculate their over under billings, and we have them tell the CFO, hey, this is how much we're billing for the month, and here's how we project our over under billings to be at the end of the month. And if they show that, or if they have concern that they're going to be underbilled, then they can also put in a comment. So here in the billing section, we just type in how much they're going to bill for the month, and then down below in the over under billing portion, they can then say, what their projections are for how their over under billing is going to be for the month. And if they're so on this project, there's a good chance that we maybe will be underbilled because of outstanding change orders.
Okay. So we would say this would be under.
Yeah, so we would just do 140,000 billed for the September in this section, and then the next section down below is where it starts to talk about over under billings, and that's where we enter that data.
Yeah. All right, so we this here, and then say I reviewed, and then down here, we're going to leave our comment and say this is why.
Oh, I think you might have went past a little bit.
Did I go too far?
Yeah. So over under billings. There we go.
Right.
So right now, when this tells you you're overbilled by $17,000, that doesn't take into account the rest of the month of costs or the rest of whatever the billing period is. So that's where I have my guys calculate that out and put in some comments.
Got it. All right, so let's and then we just have this final kind of here's the schedule. So we'll go through this. I know we're running up on time. And I do want to get over to the projected final cost.
One quick little thing is on that custom fields, if there's something specific, like our company has multiple divisions, I wanted a couple extra things where you're able to go in here and easily manipulate and create custom fields, either be calculations or notes or anything you want your team to provide you in preparation for your review meetings.
Nice. And I believe we have some customers too doing some safety things in here as well. So yeah, that is a great point and a nice feature that you can kind of customize this. So while it might not be everything in your meetings, we do give you some flexibility here to include that additional information. So I want to
Yeah.
get you over to the projected final cost. So let me go back over here to a project. All right, so here is going to take us to the projected final cost. All right, so here's the projected final cost for you. So how do you utilize this one?
Yeah, so this to me is one of the most important tools that my guys have. It's going to allow them to calculate out their cost or their projected cost, which is a very difficult thing to do.
Mhm.
Of how, especially at the early stages of a project, but as you start getting to the middle of a project, or, depending on how you have your cost codes broken out or cost classes broken out, it'll allow you to have that insight and depth of how you're performing on individual cost code bases, right?
Mhm.
So this is a fairly large project, $4.2 million. And as you scroll down a little bit, you'll see that it gives you the opportunity to manipulate the data to project how this project's going to go. So you have original, but not only can you project based off of hours or cost, but you can also base it off of quantity. So
Mhm.
if you use project, or if you track quantities on your project, so you can use that to calculate things. And it's very simple. So if in this, I know this is only a demo account, so it probably isn't 100% functional, but if I wanted to look at my stainless steel cost code here and I
Mhm.
see that my hours to complete are 200 hours, but I've talked with my project man or my team, my field team, and I've looked at the job and I know that we're going to perform a little better than that in the hours to complete column, the one just to the right. You can
Mhm.
click on that and say, oh, it's going to be actually 160 hours. And that'll automatically calculate your cost to complete for you and reduce your cost to complete, which then updates your overall project projected final costs. So it's very simple to use. It's not,
Mhm.
you don't have to sit there and calculate your average labor rate. It's all done for you. You can do simple things that are easily understandable to the project manager and to the foreman on site.
Yeah, this just goes to show Excel is not like us, huh? Can't do this in Excel this quickly.
No, no. And for material cost, if you knew you were saving money on material cost, or you wanted to just go straight to your cost to complete on the right side, you could just, could change any one of those numbers to whatever you calculate where your complete cost to complete is. And then once
Mhm.
you're all done going through each of your cost codes, you can scroll back up to the top. And here, it'll tell you, okay, your projected final cost today is 4.286 million. And
Mhm.
that little exclamation mark on the right-hand side, if you click that
Mhm.
button, it'll allow you to update the WIP, which is that other screen we're on.
Mhm.
It tracks, what you did each month and how your projections have changed over time, which is very useful. You can go back and go, oh, what did I do last month? Oh yeah,
Mhm.
okay. And additionally, I forgot to mention this before, but those changes that you make on the cost code level, those
Mhm.
are all have tracking as well. So if you close that and then scroll down, click on the one we altered. I think you altered either stainless steel or rough plumbing. I'm
Yep.
not sure which one you grabbed there. When you click on this thing, again, this thing provide, because you're connected to your ERP, this actually will bring in your a lot of information directly from the accounting system. On the left-hand side, you'll see there's a little invoice symbol. If you click on that, that'll actually bring in all your invoice costs to date of when the transactions happen and what transactions are actually hitting your job.
Mhm.
So this one's very useful because a lot of times guys are like, hey, how have I spent $60,000 on this cost code already? Well, you can see, labor
Mhm.
hours, who was on the job, how much money that person was paid, or how much in whatever invoices hit the cost code. So
Mhm.
it's really beneficial. It gives you a lot of insight really quickly without having to request something from the accounting department.
I know that there were a few other things that you wanted to highlight. Did you want to touch on monthly billings or AR collections at all?
Yeah, so from more of a, we talked a lot about project managers today and foremen and how they use the tool, but from a management perspective as well, there's some really beneficial tools that I found very that we really love. This AR collections tool, I thought is pretty amazing. Our CFO loves this. What this does is it takes all the invoicing from your accounting system, and then you can create templated emails for past due statuses on any type of invoice, 30 to 60, 60 to 90 days, 91, over 90 days. And you can put as soon as you create that template, you can then go back into the notifications section, and then you can automatically send out notifications to 30, 40 customers with clicking one button, not having to necessarily dig into the particulars of exactly, where each one is, because it's using that automatically generated communication that you've already created for them. So
and additionally, you can leave comments and notes here as well, right? So that way it becomes more collaborative and everybody can be on the same page.
Exactly. So in this, as whoever's tracking these late payments could sit here and add, hey, I had a phone call with this customer and they said payments coming on next Tuesday, or whatever it is. So that way you have one location where you keep all your notes to track how your payment process is coming. So we really love this one. It saved a lot of time. It actually increased our I like to use the word touches, right? So it increased our touches with that customer of, hey, just a reminder, we need some payment from you for this project. It's already 61 to 90. Where's that? And as things for us internally, 0 to 30, we're not as worried about our construction, but 30 to 60, we're like, okay, here's a reminder. 60 to 90, okay, now we need to talk. Where's that money coming, right? Because now you're affecting our cash flow. The other one that I felt is really interesting and beneficial is let's see, is it financial statements? I apologize. It's let's see here. I'm looking on my account on the other screen. Yeah, so financial statements. I thought that this was really quick, easy information at the touch of your fingertips, and it's really beneficial to me as the manager of the company to see how we are performing across a lot of key KPIs that a lot of times in the past I would have to talk to my CPA to get. Hey, can you calculate how we're doing on this? Or I'd have to spend a lot of time myself going into our company financials and calculating this ourselves. So now it's automatically calculated and up to date every single day, which is just super beneficial. And it's just great to be able to see this and see how the company's performing overall at a quick glance.
Well, I know that this is probably a lot for those watching, and I know we are coming to the end of our time together. So what I want to do real quick is as we go into our final thoughts, I am going to launch the demo request poll. If you would like to see a regular demo or a data sync demo with your actual data, no obligation whatsoever, feel free to let us know and we're happy to set that up for you. And so, Clint, as you look back at this, and for those listening today, what advice would you give other construction companies considering taking a similar approach?
The biggest thing for me is talking, giving your team financial autonomy and giving them the ability and the tools that they need to make educated decisions and understanding of how they're managing their projects is critical. It's just really beneficial to get their buy-in and make them or give them the power to help make the company successful.
So for anybody who is overwhelmed by all of this, they're thinking like, gosh, this is so much work. We already have all these other things happening. I don't have the time. My guys I'm already fighting with them on this stuff. How would you advise them to maybe rethink that? So in terms of what's gained versus these perceived negatives, that they're considering.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, start slow, just introduce 1 or 2 things at a time. And I think that honestly, I know that my team in particular has realized, hey, this is a lot easier than what we were doing before. Change is difficult, but once they started to look at it and you start using it, they go, okay, this is actually really cool. It's going to save us time. It's going to reduce stress. And so, we always strive to see, how can we make ourselves just 1% better than yesterday? And this was my goal, and this is how I'm looking to make that happen.
Right. So you have to, the first step in change is you have to do something.